everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I am so pleased that you're here. And before I dive into the conversation that I've got set up here for you, I just wanted to take a minute and really recognize you. Today is Valentine's Day, and we're recording. If you're looking at the video, you're going to see that my guest is wearing a lovely red top in honor of Valentine's Day and other things. But life is a little bit much these days. There's so much going on. And I really wanted you to just take a minute and use this episode as a place to settle into yourself and look at the things that really matter to you and the places that you feel connected with those that you love, to give thanks for those who are in our lives, and to take a breath, get settled, feel centered. And I think that it will help today be a better day for you. I always start and end these interviews what seems randomly, but I really wanted you to know that I so appreciate that you're here and that you put your time in your earbuds and you listen to me and you listen to these conversations that I have with wonderful people. And I just wanted you to know that even though we don't speak back and forth, I know that this is a conversation and I appreciate you showing up and honoring me with your time. All right, so let's dive into today's conversation. I have a fabulous guest today. Her name is Tracy Hoth, and she is a 17-year veteran, professional organizer, and certified life coach. She's on a mission to empower coaches to reclaim their time, boost their confidence, and maximize profitability through a streamlined and organized business. She hosts a globally ranked podcast. It's called the Organized Coach Podcast, and she's the creator of Organized Coach Academy, where she helps coaches and other online business owners become organized CEOs. Tracy, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Candy, I'm excited to be here and I love your intro. I'm glad you did that. I feel very calm and centered
Oh,
and
good.
appreciative that we're connecting on Valentine's Day. How fun.
Yeah, right? It's just one of those things. Um, and funny that you say that you feel calm. I love that. It makes it such an easier conversation when we're not all feeling kind of all amped up and like, what are we going to talk about? What is she going to ask me? And all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that we're
Right.
here and we can talk and have a great conversation and that everybody gets to kind of listen in, have kind of peek in behind the curtain at another conversation between coaches. Can you tell me how you got started? I'd love to hear your story and how you got to where you are on your journey.
Yes. Okay. I was a stay-at-home mom. I have four kids, and I would call friends and say, let's go out, let's do something. And they'd a lot of times be like, oh, I have too much to do at home. I need to clean. I need to, organize a space. And I thought, oh my goodness, when my kids get in school, if I was going to start working again, what would I want to do? I'd want to help people get organized. It came a little bit naturally, but I developed tools and simple steps to get organized. And I just started my business when my youngest was in school and started helping people get organized in their homes, in their offices with paper. I started speaking on the topic. And then eventually I heard about coaching and got certified as a life coach. And that was the interesting intersection of the mindset work and how people identify the stories they tell themselves and the practical steps in getting the work actually done. And I almost thought that people weren't going to be able to do it unless they had someone there with them helping them. And when I started coaching people online to get organized, it worked. It was so amazing. And I thought this mindset work actually does make a huge difference. And then at that point, when I was starting my online part of my business, it was hard. There was so much stuff online, and you're making copies and you're using these different texts and you're trying to keep things organized. And it was challenging for me. And so I had to really take time to think, how did I do it in person? And how would I do it online? And I used the same steps. They literally work for everything. And I thought to myself, if I'm challenged with organizing my online business, what must other people feel like? And started talking to different coaches that I was in networks with, and they really struggled. And a lot of people that had ADHD, that added another challenge on top of it. And so I started helping people organize their businesses as well.
I love that. And this word organized is an interesting business, and I want to talk about that. But before we go there, I'm really curious. Have you always been an organized person, or is this a skill that you developed because you felt the need for it?
I would say that I am down to earth, real life, practically organized, but not to the point like you would see some people with perfect pictures and everything looks beautiful and you're really OCD about it. That's not me. I would say I have a lower clutter tolerance. So when there's things laying around, it bothers me maybe more than someone else, or I notice it. But I do think it's a skill. And look, I've practiced it for 17 years. But when I go into someone's space and it's disorganized, I'm overwhelmed. I myself look at that and think, there's no way we can do this. Or I look at their computer and I think, oh my gosh, this is so much. But then I say, Tracy, just follow the steps. And
Yeah.
then I follow the steps and we get through it. But it is a skill and it is just the practical, this is how you do it. And once you know that and you practice that, I think anyone can do it.
Cool. Have you got a story of somebody who was like an absolute hot mess and then they worked these magic steps that you have and now their business is transformed? Like, I really want to hear this.
Yes. Well, I have so two people come to mind, and you can see their testimonies on my sales page of Organized Coach Academy. But the one person most recently, she purchased a product that I had on Black Friday called the Organized Business Intensive, where we really focus on three areas of our business: the digital file structure. And one of the things, and then we focus on the bookmarks bar and setting up a business dashboard where we have everything we need for our business. But the first call we set up, I have, a portal in the background where she goes in and she can look at it. And she came to the first call, and she made me record this because she was just so amazed at the progress she had made. She has a team, few people that work with her, and she was just always stressed and overwhelmed. She couldn't find what she needed. She spent a lot of time trying to find things that her team needed. She just had no structure and just felt like a mess. And then she felt shame over how she was managing her business. And she knew she could save so much time. She could feel more confident if she just took care of this. And so on our first call, but even before our first call, she went through the material and she's like, oh my gosh, my shoulders just dropped down. I can actually see that there's hope. Like, I know I can set this up. And so we work together, and she has her file structure. And, people's businesses are all different. So it does take looking at, like, what's your situation? How many Google Drives do you have? What is your one place you're going to store stuff? And it really takes some problem solving and just working it through in your mind. Okay, makes the most sense to do this. And we worked through some of those issues, and she was like, Tracy, this is just unbelievable. And I think it's the hope that you feel like, okay, I don't have to live and run my business feeling completely overwhelmed, out of sorts, hot mess, like you said, and shame then, or guilt on top of all of that. And so it's so good.
Oh, I love that. And it just, it reminds me that whenever somebody's feeling shame about something they've done, or that they think that somehow they're inadequate or not enough, it
Hmm.
means that they can't serve the people that they're meant to serve, right? Like, they can't grow their business because they're always going to be kind of holding themselves back. And it applies with everything, right? Because
Hmm.
like, and I know that, you well know this. I'm just sort of reiterating it for the listeners, that how we feel just affects everything. It affects
Yeah.
everything that we do. And so when we can move past that place of shame or embarrassment or guilt, it just frees up so much energy. So then we've
Mhm.
got that creativity, we've got that confidence to really make something happen. I love that.
Yes.
What a
And
great
for
story.
Well,
Yeah.
and for her, for all of us, we can live like that. And she had right before we worked together the most amazing launch. Like she was successful, but I don't think that people can do that long term without
Mm,
burning out or without bottlenecking their business, you know? So I feel like people can do pretty good up to a point, and that's where, do you want to wait till that point to do something about it, or do you want to start earlier and like make that investment, make that time to get the foundation set up right? So yes, but yes, everything you said is so correct.
mm. And so, and this is, it's interesting for me because I agree. Like you can go so far. You can go so far on grit and gumption, right?
Yes.
But do you want your business to be a slog? Do you want to always be pushing that boulder up the hill? And then when you stop to wipe the sweat off your forehead, have it roll over top of you and you're running back down after it. But how do we create that dynamic where we've got the energy and the creativity freed up so that it's satisfying, right? So, sure, you might get to the number that you want. Like you said, that particular client had a great launch and a successful business, but there's the quality of the business, the quality of how you feel during the
Hmm.
day while you're working your business. And that's the thing that's sometimes a bit hard to quantify. Hmm.
Exactly.
Can we talk a little bit about this word organized? So it's a word that's, part of every one of your programs. It's part of everything that you do. Organized, organized, organized. What does it mean to you to be organized?
The simplest definition is to know what you have and be able to find it when you need it. It
Okay.
doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be like the person next to you. It's just, can I find what I need? Do I know what I have? Or am I buying duplicates? Am I making another worksheet because I can't find the worksheet that I need to give to my client? So it's in where's the link? I can't find the link, you know? So it's just knowing what you have and being able to find it when you need it.
Yeah. And so when you say that, and it sounds so simple, right? We've got coaches who are listening to this and saying, oh gosh, I could use some help with that. And you talked a little earlier about your 5 steps. Are you okay to share with us the high level of what the 5 steps are?
Oh, sure. So the 5 steps to organizing anything, your digital stuff, your physical spaces, your a project that you're starting, your calendar and time, and even your mind. These 5 steps work for all of it. So I've been using them for 17 years. I don't know why I didn't make something cooler, but the steps are SPASM, SPASM. So next time you have a little muscle spasm, you're going to think about organizing. But the first step is to sort. You always start by sorting. Don't start trying to make a decision about, should I get rid of this? Just sort. So take like items, pick something up, say, what is this? Put it in a pile. Is it an office supply, a book, a piece of paper? Is it, go with home or business on my computer? We always start just by sorting into categories. And then the next step is to purge. Now we're going to go back through each of the categories. Now we know everything that we have in that category is here, and now it's easier to make decisions on it. I like to use the favorites method where you choose your favorite thing in that. It works great with kids, but then I started using it with adults because we don't want to get rid of things too. So, what's your favorite? And keep that, pull that out. What do you use all the time? And then you can go from there to make decisions. In that step, too, I think it's helpful even before you purge to look to your future and say, what am I interested in now? What am I following now? What coach am I keeping their information that I love, that I'll use again? Who am I in my life now? And that'll help you make those decisions in the purge stage. So then you have everything you're keeping And then you are assigning homes to things. So sort, purge, assign homes. Now you decide where it's going to live. If we know where things live, we'll be able to find them when we need them. And we'll be able to clean up quickly. So it might be cleaning up your dashboard. It might be clearing off your counter before company comes, but you'll be able to clean it up quickly. And then set limits is the next step. And that's the containering step. That's the step usually people want to start with. Go buy some containers, buy a new planner, buy some new things for your office, some baskets. But I never recommend anybody buys anything until they get to the fourth step because now they know what they're keeping, they know the space that it's living in. What do we need to set a limit? And I like to use the word set limits because it tells you when that limit is reached, it's your key, the trigger to go back and start at the beginning. You're going to sort because now the limit's full and you know, okay, I need to get rid of some more stuff to make it fit into my space. And then the final step is to maintain. Everything takes maintenance. Organization initially starts as a project because you maybe have a bigger thing, a lot to tackle. So it begins as a project. And after that, it can move into maintenance mode. What do you need to do to maintain the space? And I like in maintain to tie it to something that you already do. So if you close your computer down right before you do that, put the files on your desktop where they go. Or when you do taxes once a year, clean out your file cabinet, your paper, or your digital space, and it's tied to something you do already. Seasons of the year is a great one for clothing. So, or going through the mail, tie it to making your pot of coffee in the morning or whatever you do.
Hmm. SPASM. Wow. Okay, so that's an acronym that will stick with me.
Oh, good.
And it works. And it
It
works.
works. When you are overwhelmed next time, I want everyone to think about the steps of organizing. You're organizing your brain. So when you're pulling all the stuff out of your brain, sort it into categories on a piece of paper. Calls I need to make, errands I need to run, stuff for work or stuff for a certain project at work, stuff around the home, thoughts that I'm thinking. So you can do the same thing for your mind as well.
I love that. So if you were a coach that's worked with a handful of clients, they're just getting started, they're just, they've got an offer and now they're wanting to grow their practice, how would you recommend that they get started? Because it's at that point that everything isn't brand new and all shiny. Now we're trying to take it and say, okay, well, I've worked with a handful of clients. Now I want another handful and another handful. And this is when they really need to get organized. So where would you suggest they start?
Yes, there's a couple things, but the main thing that I tell people to start with is their digital file structure so that as they're making their assets and creating new content, they have a place for it to live. And so I recommend I think of it like a funnel. Information is coming into your computer, and what are you going to do with it? And I like to think there's home and business. We have stuff on our computers that are home or business. So the top of the funnel is home or business. Does it go? Which one does it go in? And then if we're just looking at business, there's 5 files that I think every business, especially a coaching business, needs. And you could limit it to the 5. That's what I teach. I have a free workshop where I talk about these 5 files, but they are operations. Some people call it admin. So anything behind the scenes of your business. The second one is marketing. That's anything outward facing in your business. So now you have front and back your business. Then we have my content. And I have to put the word my in front of it just so I know it's my content, anything I've created, my speaking stuff, collaborations, anything that I've made goes in my content. And education is anything that someone else has made. So all the coaches, all the free downloads, all the programs, all the certifications go in education. And then the 5th file is clients.
Mm, yeah. So tell me again. You have admin, which is back of house or
Yep.
operations.
Yep.
You've got, oh gosh,
Mark
now you, I feel like
marketing.
I'm doing marketing. I'm on a pop
It's your
quiz right now.
test.
My content, education, and clients.
Yes.
That's so interesting. And then within each of those folders, now you've got some subfolders that you're going to have. And some of those will be maybe a little bit more messy, but at least you know you're in the right spot, right?
Yes. And it's that filter. So it came into my business. It's going to go in one of those 5 files. And then if you're just starting or you don't have that many files, don't make subfolders yet. Don't make subfolders until you need them. And you notice, okay, I have 5 things that are the same category. I'm going to put those into a subfolder. So
Mm,
for operations, maybe you have money. And I like broad names. So money. You're going to just stick your stuff that has to do with money in that file folder.
I love it. That's so cool. Now, if you have a dashboard, I guess it's going to go into ops, basically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And with that, this is so good, Candy. You store it in your ops. I love the short word nickname. And but you keep a link to it. I'm big on my bookmarks bar. I love my
Mm,
bookmarks bar. It saves me so much time. So that's one of the other things I'll work with someone on. But you put the link to it on your bookmarks bar, and literally in one click, you get to your dashboard. And it's so
it's,
great, but you know where it's stored because it doesn't get stored on your bookmarks bar. You just have the link to it there, but then you know where it's stored.
it's like everything's at your fingertips, right?
Yes.
And the other thing as you're describing this, Tracy, is this idea that it really feels like, the Stephen Covey old things start with the end in mind, right? And so for newer coaches, like you are showing up at the perfect time because lots of newer coaches listen to this show. And so
Hmm.
for newer coaches, if you can do this earlier in the game than later in the game, it is going to save you so much headache. Ah,
So many times coaches are like, oh, I wish I would have found you earlier. I wish I would have known this. I wish I would have had this stuff set up. That's what they recommend. If you're a new
yeah,
coach, get this done now so you can have everything in place. So
ready,
you have that
ready.
and you're training your mind the whole time
Yeah.
to to be able to keep this structure and save so much time.
Yeah. Can we do a slight, what might feel like a bit of a right turn here? I
Yeah.
want to talk about how we think about being organized. Like,
Mm.
you had your wonderful, simple definition of what organized is. We've heard a little interesting story. I understand why you're where you're at. You've given some great tips that anybody could come along and just go, I am just going to try that. Now, let's talk about I know we're talking about the mindset of organized.
Mhm.
And I'm hesitating on that word mindset because it's a bit of a catchphrase these days. And really, let's talk about how people think about themselves. Are they
Mhm.
organized? Are they a mess? And how does that tie into how you support your clients?
Yes. And a word I think of when you're explaining that is identity. Do you
Yeah.
identify as an organized person? Or do you identify as someone who, you have these stories in your head about, oh, I'm a mess. I can't do that. This is too much. It's overwhelming. Like, I don't think like that, all those kinds of things. And so I think with anything with mindset, what your story is about yourself, we have to just break that down and possibly find a story in your life where you are organized or a part of your life where you are organized. Maybe you're organized at work. That's one thing. I'll show someone you get to work every day. You do what you're supposed to do every day, or you did back when you had a job, if now you're a full time coach. And so
Mhm.
we'll look for evidence that they have been in certain areas, they're organized. And then I like combining getting some structures in place with considering the mindset part of it because once now they have their 5 files set up. Look at they're organized in that way, right? They have a funnel. They have it all in one place. They can have the evidence to see that they're organized. And then it's
Mm.
just that gradual shift from their old story to the identity of someone that has the skills and is organized.
Yeah, so you've got this place where by giving them the tools, at least the beginning level of tools, they can start to prove that to themselves. I've
Right.
been doing a lot of work with mindset with my clients, like all the time. Sure, I talk strategy, we talk tactics and all of that, but mindset is really the underpinning of so much of what we do. And I really like this approach. And I think it sounds very similar to what you've just described, where we look at how do I like my business? Am I organized? Do your thought download where what are all your thoughts, the good, bad, and the ugly
Hmm.
about this concept about who you are, and then choose one thought and then flip it. I'm
Hmm.
a hot mess now becomes I am so organized. I know exactly how to organize myself. And then, just like you suggested, take that, what feels like a very foreign thought, and find the evidence for it.
Hmm.
And it's so interesting to see how quick you can change your identity. Because once you prove it to yourself, you can never unprove it, right? Like you've seen it once and that's it. It's going to remind you every time it comes up, you're going back to that habitual thought, I'm a hot. No, I'm not. I know that I'm organized. Look at my underwear drawer. Look at my pantry, right? Like
Yes. Look at my file structure. I have it in place. It's
exactly.
printed out in front of me. I see it until it
Yeah.
becomes memory, you know.
I can imagine that the work that you do with your clients, combining those things together is really transformative. And it's got to be some of the most powerful work that happens, eh?
It is so good. And it's so impactful. I mean, I have clients that go through Organized Coach Academy or work one on one with me, and they say, Tracy, it's spilling over into my life. Like now I'm organizing my linen closet. I'm doing all these other things. Like I'm thinking differently about my home and my calendar and my life because of the skill that they're learning through business organization.
Yeah. And so how they think about themselves, their level of quality of life, but also their financial health,
Mm,
like maybe you don't need six sets of measuring cups if you realize, hey, I've got a really great set and it's right here in that drawer and I could put my hand on it. I don't need to order another one from Amazon or wherever,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
so that spinoff as well puts people really in control. I can so
Yeah.
see the benefit of being really organized. And I love that you've been really clear that there's this spillover, like organized in your business becomes organized in other areas, which creates more of a ripple effect. Yeah.
Yeah. And that what you just said too, the wonderful one is a concept I teach. The power of having one. So I tell people when you're about to set up your file structure, decide the one home, the one hub that you're going to keep your file structure. And if you don't have a team, great, just do it on your computer. Or if you have you want to do it in Google Drive or wherever you pick. If you already have stuff in Dropbox, just do it in Dropbox, but just pick one place. Then you're freeing up your mind from decision fatigue. You're not having to wonder where things are. Like it's one place, just like the measuring cups. What if we just had one? What if we just
Yeah.
had one hole punch and one place we stored pens? Not to get legalistic about that. If you want to have four places you have pens in your house, it's totally fine. But when possible, use the wonderful one.
Yeah. So much brain space freed up, so much energy freed up, such a potential for quality of life out of something
Yes.
like that. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay. So we've covered all the things. Is there one question or one idea that we haven't talked about that the listeners would really benefit from?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because I'm always like, okay, we got to have our file structure. We got to have our power of one. We need to know the steps. But then what else is there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would I would just say it's not a race. So instead, and this is The Gap and the Gain, the book. I love that book, but it's looking at you're in the process of doing this. So it's not a race. You don't have to do it all in the next month. Like space it out and do a little bit at a time. Work on one file. Get one of your files done. Clear your documents out into your file structure. Just work on a little bit at a time and plan it. At first, you probably will need to put it on your calendar, but after that, you just keep like once a week, you're going to do a little bit more.
Mm. It's not a race. I love it. Yeah. And then there's so much less resistance. You're not having to stop your life for an entire weekend to organize this one area of your business. You can just kind of keep going. And I think people get really stuck in the fear like, well, if I stop doing the work, the marketing or whatever, then I'm going to lose traction. So I don't have time to get organized. But this really gives them
Yes.
permission. Yeah, permission to
Yeah.
take that slow, easy pace. Thank you.
And don't, like what you just said there, I tell people, don't be organizing when you should be making an offer. Like get your offer
Yeah.
made first. Do your whatever it is that's going to move the needle and get you money in your business, and then schedule in, back end stuff.
Right. Ah, Tracy, I have so enjoyed our conversation. You shared so many really excellent, helpful tips. For the listeners, what is a way that they can come closer to you, that they can learn more about what you do?
Yes. So my website is simply squaredaway.com. And on that website, I have two freebies right on the front, a file naming formula cheat sheet so you can have consistency with your files. And then also the free workshop that I mentioned. It's simply squaredaway.com/five files. So you're going to learn what organization can look like in your business. And then listen to me on the Organized Coach podcast.
Wonderful. And of course, I'll put all the links in the show notes so people can just click right through. They can sign up for the freebie, the workshop, and then they can just listen to your show as well. Really appreciate the time that you've spent with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Candy, for having me. It's been great talking to you.
Cool. All right, everybody. This is the episode for the week. I would love you to consider putting just a little bit of time in your calendar and start your organized journey. If this is something that you can see the benefit of spending less time searching and more time knowing where something is and being able to put your hand on it, take all of Tracy's advice, all the things that she's shown us, and put just a little bit into play. Don't just sit on an idea. Get outside, get out there, do the work. I believe in you. I appreciate you. And I am so thankful again that you have joined us in this conversation. Thanks again. We'll talk to you next week.